All right, so we've got our solution walkthrough. And just as a quick reminder here, Diane had reached out asking for help updating the month short column and creating a new column for SKU category. Now, after working through it, your solutions should look something like the following. All right, we've got our month short column wrapped with an upper function, and then we have SKU category where we're using left and search to basically find any characters that are to the left of the hyphen. All right, let's jump over to Power BI and I'll show you how to tackle this. All right, so our first objective here was to update the month short column in the calendar lookup, which is where we had left off. And we basically want to capitalize all of the month short names here. So the easiest way to do this is basically just to wrap this in an upper function like we saw. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by tabbing this all out. So I selected everything and hit tab. I'm going to do Shift Enter, and we'll come back to the start here. And I type in my upper function. So the reason that I like to indent all of the DAX that's associated with left is because it's all part of the argument of upper, right? So basically we're saying, hey, we want to uppercase all of this text, the result of this DAX here, right? And then I come down and I Shift Enter, close my parenthesis, and now you can clearly see the nested functions and what's doing what. Right. So again, just trying to get in that habit of using the DAX IntelliSense to make sure that you're indenting and formatting your DAX appropriately. All right. So we'll lock this in. And if we click into the column, we can see that we now have capitalized all of our month short names. All right. So that's our first key objective. The second key objective is that we need to create a new column in the product lookup table. So let's head over there. Right. And this column is going to be based on the product SKU column, right? So we've got this product SKU column here, and we basically want to return any number of characters before the first hyphen. So let's say, for example, we're not quite sure how many characters exist before this first hyphen. From all the examples here, it looks like 2, but let's say that, maybe it's a mix of, multiple letters or numbers or some sort of alphanumeric value. And we just are basically saying, hey, we want to return that SKU category, which is everything to the left of that first hyphen. All right, so that's what we're going to do here. All right, so from here, we're going to create a new column within the table. And this is going to be called SKU category. And what I'm going to do here is write out the whole correct answer. And then I'm going to go back and break it down so we can clearly see exactly what's happening at each stage. All right, so basically we're going to start off with a left function. All right, we know that the end result that we want is to return everything to the left of the first hyphen. And then the text that we want to search within is the product SKU. So the number of characters that we want to return, this is actually where we're going to use our search function, right? We're going to nest another DAX function, right? So search is basically saying, hey, here's the text that I want to find within another string, right? So we want to find our hyphen, and we want to find that text within our product SKU. So that's all we're looking for. The next thing that we want to return is the number of characters. In here, we want to return -1 from this search starting point. And like I said, I'm going to show you the answer here, and then we're going to go and kind of delete different portions of this whole DAX calculated column to show you what it returns. Right, so this is the correct result, right? We basically returned everything to the left of that first hyphen, and you can see that we've got all of our SKU categories here. Now let me do this. I'm going to delete everything except for the search portion, and you can see that we're returning a value. We talked about search is basically just returning the position. So when we're nesting this within the left function, we're saying, hey, return all of the characters starting at position 3. Now, if I add back in the left function, but this time, let's delete the -1. What we're now saying is return everything to the left of our starting point, which is the hyphen, but we are also asking DAX to return this hyphen instead of removing it. So because we want to return everything before the first hyphen, our starting point is actually -1 from where we started searching. So it's basically 3 minus 1, which is 2. Got our -1, add that back in, and we've got our correct result here. All right, so that's going to wrap up the assignment solution walkthrough for text functions.